25 minutes.
Okay. Whenever you are ready, Mr. Fatula.
Hello, Ken Fatula again. I'm going to be preparing some food, and as you know, I've already discussed this with you in the past. If you've ever watched one of my YouTubes, I'm not a chef. All right, it's just not me because I've had no formal training. Rather, I've been experimenting and eating food for quite some time, and some of the things that I do, you may not like, but I hope that at least I'll be able to give you some ideas about how you might want to pursue things if you're going to prepare food homemade. And what we're going to do, I'm going to be doing something that's referred to as a roasted chicken. It's a skillet roasted chicken. I've got two chicken quarters here, which is the leg and the thigh. And they still have the bones and also skin on them. And there's a better way, or I should say not a better way, there's a different way if you use the whole chicken. Pretty much you follow the same routine, but I don't think everything's the same. What I've got here is some chicken that I've been trying to get dried out. And I already preheated the oven. It's at 500 degrees. So 500 degree oven is really hot. What I've got here is a mixture of herbs and some salt and pepper. The herbs are sage, thyme, and rosemary, along with some fresh cracked pepper out of the peppercorn container here, or grinder, and also some just regular old-fashioned salt. What we're going to do is put it under the skin. I know that looks pretty funky, but bear with me. It's not as bad as you think. Now, what I'm going to do is separate the skin from the muscle tissue here on the chicken quarter. So I'm going to stuff this mixture under the skin, and this is going to be going into a cast iron skillet. And trust me, at 500 degrees, this is going to be interesting because it sizzles and pops and does all kinds of great stuff. Okay, that should be enough on that one. Now the flip side, I'm going to be putting salt on, but currently my hands are pretty funky with the herb mixture, or I should say the chicken, since I was putting herb mixture in it. And the one thing we don't want to do is cross-contaminate. We want you to survive when you're making food. We don't want you to die. Ken did it that way? No, Ken didn't do it that way. He washes his hands. I'm OCD when it comes to washing my hands after I touch any kind of raw meat. That pretty much gets that part of it. So this is going to go skin side down. Now what I have to do next is wash my hands. We have to rub olive oil on the surface of the skin. Otherwise, when we throw it in the pan, it'll sizzle and it'll also stick. So I'm trying to avoid the skin sticking as much as I possibly can. All right, so what do we have here? We got olive oil. Olive oil. Yeah, that was, yeah, forget it. That's right. Trained hands. That's the skill of a surgeon. Well, maybe not an actual surgeon, but these are, I guess they're nitrile. I'm not sure what they're made out of, but whatever it is, it's food friendly. There's nothing on the surface of it that would contaminate, powder or something. All right. So now, some olive oil. And this looks pretty simple. There's really not much to it. And now the herbs that I've got here came from our garden. they've been picked, with the exception of the thyme. We have thyme outside, but I prefer the dried thyme for something like this. All right, the next thing that I've got to do is put this in the skillet. This skillet is going to be really hot. Okay, now there's nothing in the skillet. The only oil is that's on the surface of the bird itself. Now, the skillet itself was put in the oven the oven was turned to 500, and what we do is we wait for the skillet to get up to the same temperature, and usually it tracks right along. If it says 500, the skillet is between 450 and 5, and it'll catch up. Then the meat itself was cold anyway, so it will decrease the temperature in the skillet just briefly. But cast iron really holds the heat. And that's the deal on this thing, is you're using the heat in the cast iron to help cook it. And that's why it's supposed to give you a crispy skin, and the herbs are supposed to throw the flavor of these particular herbs. It's almost like putting a dressing on it. You know, what do we call those things? Like a corn or the turkey dressing. It'll have that kind of flavor, but there won't be any dressing. And I will, in a minute, I'm going to put some more salt on the side that's not down. That should be enough. This is about a tablespoon. You see how she is really cooking. It should crisp up the skin, because that's really what you're after. Now I'm going to set the timer for 25 minutes. At 25 minutes, we're going to flop them over. Another 20 minutes and we're going to pull the skillet out, and hopefully, I feel fairly certain that the chicken will certainly be done. I do have a meat thermometer, which we'll check it with. And it will probably read off the charts because it's really hot in there. I can tell by the timer that made noise that we need to look at our chicken. So let's go over here and see what we got happening. Oh my goodness, she be smoking. And I probably should leave it in the oven to do this, but it's hard to see what I'm going to be doing. We got two things going on. I need to turn this over. Now look, if you do this, make sure that you are careful, because the last thing you want to do is injure your body when you're trying to turn this stuff over. Now the reason I got out the spatula is because I want to see if I can remove it without disturbing the skin. Well, the skin is somewhat disturbed. It's kind of like me, but it looks good. Oh, yes. So you've got your skin. It's crisped up a little bit. We're turning it over to get the other side. And we're going to do another 15 minutes. You can see these herbs that were sitting under the skin. Oh, I don't want to lose that, because I'm going to tell you something right there. The herbs that are available, man, do they make a difference. Let's put this back in. Let me check things out. All right, it's around 425 to 430. I'm not going to play with it. I'm going to let it go that way. So we're gonna check this in another 15 minutes because it really looks like she's getting done.
Did you check the internal temperature of the chicken yet, or
No, I'm gonna do that as soon as
how long
this.
has it been in total?
It was in for 25 minutes and then I didn't attend to it for about 5 minutes, so that's 30 minutes. And I put it in for another 15. So that's 45
I
minutes.
would check it at 10.
Okay. Oh, then it's
So it doesn't
time.
get dried out.
Then it's time.
And if you just stick a fork in it, you can feel if it's tender.
Gee
It
whiz.
looks pretty good.
Don't worry, I've been recording.
Okay.
I got this.
See, but when you get through that tough, it's where it's, the skin is, chicken is kind of firmed up, but
Listen, I'm using the thingy bobber.
yeah, well, close
Yeah.
it while you're, anyway, I gotta go.
All right, take care. Love you too.
I wish I could be here to listen, but.
Here, you can take a picture of me, kiss my wife, who has been the best thing ever.
I'm taking some of your chili to the ladies' Bible class.
That's right. I made chili. It's not a hot chili. I made one that does have some interest to it. And my wife is taking it to her ladies' Bible class because apparently she doesn't like them very much. But okay, this is something that you don't have to have, but it takes the guesswork out of, is it done? And this is a charbroil. That's what it's called. Charbroil is the brand name. I don't care what kind you get. It's a meat thermometer. I have it set currently on poultry. Poultry, according to this, is supposed to be at 165. Whenever you use one of these, you try to avoid hitting the bone. You go into the thickest part of the meat. Well, I'm going to pull this out, and probably the thing's going to go off the charts. It is at 165. Let's try this thigh. It's at 209. Holy mackerel. Oh, I bumped the bone there. I don't need that. That's a 208. All right, so what we've got here is finished food. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to take this out, he says enthusiastically. Set it on a trivet of sorts. Close this up, and I'm going to bump it down a little bit. Now, we're going to let this sit here and take its time. The famous resting. I'm not sure if it has to rest. And resting is a process where the meat reabsorbs its moisture. Because what can happen is, as it's being baked or cooked, from what I understand, check it out, it starts to drive the moisture, and when you cut into it prematurely, all of the moisture rolls out of it. So those juices that ordinarily want to be recaptured by the cellular properties or whatever it is of the meat, from what I understand, if you go after the meat and try to eat it or cut it in advance of the resting period, it can be tough or just dry. And we don't want that. So I'm going to let it sit here for a little bit. Maybe 10 minutes because they're fairly small. They're sitting in cast iron and I'm going to be removing them from that in a minute. Sadly, this is the hardest part of this, and that is cleaning the skillet. What you do with cast iron is you've got to make sure that it's seasoned before you use it. And after you use it, since there's undoubtedly going to be some salt floating around, you want to try to remove any residuals here. Now this is cleaned up rather nicely. And man, that looks so good. I want to pour it on here. Oh, in all probability, some of the skin, I'm telling you, chicken skin is. Now, am I saying that it's healthy for you? Well, it's healthy for the chicken. I'm not going to say another word because it probably isn't healthy, but it doesn't matter. Oh, here's kind of something interesting. If you're ever looking for a way to cool something down, these are made out of, I think, silver plate or something. But if you can get a metallic trivet that has some standoff for the ground, and you set something that's super hot on it, we do this quite a bit as a matter of fact, it'll help to cool it off. It's just physics. Apart from that, I think we're in pretty good shape. In about 11 minutes, we're going to try chicken. Well, let's see if this thing worked out. Going into the thigh. Oh, baby. I can't believe I made that. That is really good. There's not much salt to it, but there was a deposit of salt that was left with these herbs that was at the bottom of the skillet. And when you take a little of that, in fact, I should just put that over the top of it. That's where you've got a little bit of salt. And this, oh my goodness. You need to get yourself a skillet. You need to get your your oven up to 500 degrees, and you need to make this. Remember, all it takes is sage, rosemary, thyme, salt, and pepper. I got fresh ground is always a little bit better. Man, look, thanks for watching. Remember to like us and subscribe, because there's more stuff coming down the pike. I guarantee it. And I think it will be a blessing to you to at least be exposed to some other ideas and some things that you can make. And they're not that hard. This whole thing took 45 minutes. Well, 50 minutes with the stuffing and stuff. The other thing I want to just remind you, wash your hands after you've handled any raw meat. I don't care if it's fish, shrimp, doesn't matter. God bless. Take care. And don't forget, like and subscribe.